It is 2:05. I think we're going to just go ahead and get started anyway. My name is Josh Arenstam. I am Wonderfitzig on Twitter. And this is Cosplay 101. We're going to spend a little time kind of going through the process of how to start creating a cosplay, kind of like what processes we use and go through and kind of do that stuff. We're going to go through and get you some access to some resources that Milo has put together. And then I guess we'll open up Q&A and kind of just freeform chat about stuff.
Hi, I'm Milo. I'm a competitive costumer, member of the International Costumers Guild for about a decade now. I wore this, which is Drizzed. It's a competition 2 years ago. We got an award. It's super cool.
There's normally a waiting face.
Yeah, there's a lot that didn't get put on because it's really hot.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see you like half melted. And?
My name's Carly. I've been cosplaying for about 20 years, since I was about 15. So I used to do it pretty, I guess, intricately. Recently I've been paring it down though a bunch because of time, but I used to go to conventions probably about 5 or 6 times a year, and I had tons of awards, and I like to dress up in things.
I'm Nika. I'm probably a much more casual cosplayer, but I like...
That's what Nika and I are here for.
Yeah. But I like to, I guess my focus would be, I'm starting to do more of the, like, kind of making things from scratch, but I like to take things that I already have or some store-bought things and then modify them out.
Yeah, so there's like two kind of large categories of cosplay, I would say. There's handmade creations where you start from scratch, like you have a pattern and some fabric. And then there's repurposed items where you just like kind of bought pieces and assembled stuff like that together. It's kind of, there's room for both of those. So I think what we are going to start with is, did you have a character in mind that we were going to talk about to kind of, actually, why don't we just, is there a character someone wants to choose that we're kind of like, figure out how, just like as an example character for, let's like build a cosplay for, I don't know, Jay Woodford. Yes?
Cora from Legend of Korra.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We've made Cora outfits.
Yeah, so I've done, I've made
Milo has done Asaka too.
Kovira and probably all the villains from the Legend of Korra I've done.
So that's a perfect example of like something that is very easily, so I guess the hard part is choosing your character first. So how do you guys choose who you're going to cosplay?
I personally choose, like, if I see someone, then I'm like, oh, I have to be like so intrigued by them, and I just basically fall in love with their character, and like, that's what I'm doing. Or sometimes if I see someone, I'm like, this is a challenge, and I want to see if I can do it. I'll do it that way.
A lot of the time I choose based on their costume. Like, I could not like that character at all, or like barely know it, but if they have a cool costume, I'll go for it.
I know you get chosen to do costumes a lot rather than choosing to do them yourself.
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends that we all compete together in big groups, and so we kind of like take turns rotating who's going to be in charge. So I'll like get a costume dictated to me. But when I'm making something for myself, I prefer to completely embody a character. So I look for someone that I can actually physically and emotionally put myself into the character's headspace and like become that person. So I look for a lot of the physical characteristics, so you know, a medium tan skin, slight build. That's why Sokka was really good for me.
Yeah.
And Jasmine.
We even had the same haircut.
Yeah, you also did a Princess Jasmine too, which worked.
Prince Jasmine.
Oh yeah, that's right, you did gender bend. So other important things I'm thinking about when choosing characters is you want to, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but choosing something that's immediately recognizable is usually a good thing. Like, you don't have to do that. There's a lot of people who do OC costumes, so where they're the only person who knows what their costume is. They just wanted to create a design that looked very visually appealing or something like that.
A lot of time for me is, cosplay is a way to, I don't particularly like to be noticed a lot of the time unless I'm in costume, and I want people to take my picture. Like, I forgot my wig cap today, sorry.
Slide on.
Yeah, it's sliding on. So if I go to a convention, like, it's super boring and upsetting to me if I go and I'm like, 2 people have taken my, I'm like, what did I do all this work for? So it depends on how you want to do that, but if you want your picture taken, which at those I do, I'll choose someone that maybe I'm not as into all the time, but like they're recognizable and they have a cool outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing a popular character is definitely like an ego boost.
Yeah,
It feels
yeah.
nice.
Until you walk around and you see 25 other people in the same
Yeah,
outfit.
yeah.
No, but then you all like get together and you're like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
when
true.
you're,
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
compare yourself, like, oh, how did you do this? Like, oh, I
Yeah.
followed this process. Or like, sometimes people will do twists on characters.
Yeah.
So like,
There's Sailor-
Overwatch is a great example. Or
Yeah.
Sailor
Sailor
Moon
Moon's a really
is
good
probably the
example,
actually
yeah.
biggest one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you can take a character and then turn it punk, turn it into armor, turn it into like a gender bend or
Gender bend, crossplay, everything.
yeah.
my favorite Sailor Moon twist is a Sailor Freddie Mercury.
I saw that. That was so good. Yeah, yeah.
So then the next step is often gathering resources and really studying your characters. So if that's characters and media, that's screenshots, stuff like that.
360 views are
Yeah.
super important, and there's usually if you Google them, you
Yeah.
can find someone has already done
Blizzard
it.
is really good about it, and
Yes.
they put together.
BioWare does the same
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
game companies are really good about that.
They'll actually put together packages where you can actually either play with the model itself and like
Yep.
spin it, or they'll give you every single view that you could possibly.
Yeah.
Because some people really want to get into the detail work.
Yeah,
on
like
costume, but
Blizzard for Overwatch has swatches online for like here's the fabric on this specific part of the character, and like stuff like that is super helpful and
Yeah.
important. But I think another aspect of that is, especially if you're doing period costumes, is looking into materials. So also, even if it's fiction, that fiction is usually based on a specific time period and actual history. So like for leather work is like what kind of leather would they have used, or like what kind of textiles would have been used? Would it have been synthetic, and making fabric choices like that? I think that's kind of getting into the next step of
Yeah.
gathering your materials.
That's more competition level.
yeah,
Thinking.
yeah, and it really
Yeah, but at
depends
the same
on
time, like
like what your approach to cosplay is. If you just want to go and have a fun time,
Yep.
then don't worry about it. Just go
Right.
and have a fun time. Even if you make a costume that's like, or it's got holes, or it's got frayed edges, or something, like a lot of the time that this stuff doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter because you still look like the character.
And people just get excited to see your
Yeah.
character.
Yes, more often I think that
People
if
aren't
there's
looking at-
anything that you feel like, oh, well, I should have done this, or I should have used this fabric instead, you will be the only one to notice
Yeah.
that. Everyone else is just like, oh my god, it's Cora.
Unless
or-
you're doing like
Competition.
actual
right
competition, then
Yeah.
it matters.
One of the things I say about knitting a lot, and it sort of applies to costumes and sewing itself, is if there are mistakes, that's how you can tell it's handmade. Which is kind of fun. Like,
Yeah.
and you're the only going to be the person to notice them. So,
Yeah.
like other holes here and there. What do you do after kind of figuring out your plans and like gathering patterns? So I often, do you ever draft your own patterns? You don't do that often, do you?
We do.
I never use patterns. I always draft my own.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
there's different approaches. So like McCall's and Butterick have like huge
Yeah.
swaths of cosplay patterns these days. Like Yaya Han has her
Yeah,
own
Yaya
pattern
Han
line
does.
now, which is interesting.
Yeah.
She even has her own fabric line, which is meant to like work with the pattern she created.
Yeah.
But what I find works best for me is finding a piece of clothing that I like, fits me well, and then
Cutting it up.
copying that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or you don't have to cut it up.
Oh, you don't-
If you like lay it flat and you
Yeah.
kind of like adjust it so you can find where all the seams are, you can clone a piece of clothing that way.
There's so many resources online. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't know how to sew, don't let that restrict you from making a costume, because there's so many things online, so many YouTube tutorials.
You can get started with a $90 singer from Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah.
Or if you have family members who
True.
I enlist my mom every year for the live show to help me out.
A lot of the popular cosplayers at this point put out PDFs
Yeah.
to give you tutorials, like how they make their costumes. There's a popular one, Svetlana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was her?
What is her?
Is that
Kamori
Kamui
or
cosplay?
something.
Yeah, Cowboy
Kamui.
cosplay.
Yeah.
Like, she puts out how to build armor, because that's like a big one that I recently
Is
got into.
becoming big, yeah.
Yeah, that if you need resources, they're out there. They're like, don't let the actual technical aspect of it stop you from doing something.
Yeah.
To be fair, Kamui Cosplay is the spokesperson for
Yeah.
Worbla in Europe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh.
she makes these really detailed books on how to make things from Worbla because she's trying to sell you Worbla.
Do you
but
guys know
also
what
it's like
Worbla
a really
is?
good product.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Does
So
everybody know what Worbla is?
you do a great.
I do,
Milo,
I've done a bunch of Warlay.
Milo has. We'll get you the links for this at the end, but you have an entire guide to materials for stuff like that, and Worbla is a huge part. Do you want to explain what Worbla is?
Worbla is a hybrid thermoplastic. It's basically, if anyone's familiar with friendly plastic, it's kind of like you heat it up with hot water, and it's in little beads, and then you can shape it. And when it cooled, it'd be really hard. Actually,
Do you have
Oh
a
yeah,
piece
you
of
have
Worbla
some.
here?
this is friendly plastic. These are
There,
little
yeah.
spikes.
Worbla comes in these kind of like
Flat
browny
sheets.
sheets.
Comes in white now too.
Oh, does
And
it? Oh yeah, I
black.
saw that.
And
And clear.
So
Yeah,
Worbla
yeah,
is like a half and half cut of the friendly plastic and sawdust. And it comes in big sheets. You can cut it up, heat it, shape it, stretch it. You can take your scraps, heat them, put them together into a ball, roll them out into another sheet again. It's really cool, kind of still expensive.
Yeah, it is. It's not super cheap. But you can do like stuff like really intricate armor and stuff like that.
A lot of Mercy cosplayers, if you see that like
Yeah.
formed chest piece, that's almost always done in Worbla.
Yeah.
Any of those kind of like bodycon plastic pieces are usually done with Worbla. Stuff like that. It's a great resource. It's usually used best in small because it's small quantities because it's so
Yeah.
expensive.
Then there's a similar one, Wonderflex.
Yep.
Yeah.
That has like a mesh backing to provide more, because Worbla tends to rip
Yeah.
if you
rip
get
and
it too
crack.
hot or stretch it out too far. So.
Because like if in here it would start to deteriorate because it's too warm.
Yeah.
But Wonderflex is great because it has that fiberglass mesh behind it, so it's providing a lot more structure. I think they're just as expensive.
Yeah. They're
Um,
not cheap.
So great races like stuff like that, Worbla.
EVA foam is
EVA
really
foam.
good
Yeah.
for starters.
EVA foam, it's like, you
Do you
can
know
buy it
those?
at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Craft foam.
Yeah.
It's also so. Do you know those like big interlocking mats that they kind of look like puzzle pieces? And they're often used like gym floors and stuff like that. That's EVA foam. That kind of
And you can
thick
actually
foam.
heat it up and mold it around something, and it doesn't take like perfect shape, but it will give you
It's
some
pretty-
kind
yeah.
of shape.
So the all of the pieces of like the armor that I had last night was all foam, EVA foam, and I just used heat gun, heat it up, and then it kind of semi melts the top of it and makes it like a shinier, and that's whenever you can form it to what you want to do, like within its reason.
So foam is very useful for a lot of cosplays because it comes with its own structure. It's really cheap. You can get EVA foam.
I bought it at the dollar store.
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon, a huge pack of those interlocking things with a texture on the back, which is sometimes useful for the cosplay you're doing.
I buy it on
$8.
Crate for less because you can get it in like huge rolls. That way you have like one continuous sheet without any seams.
Yeah. So like,
If you're doing like a big piece, like I do like leather or not leather, greaves
Yeah.
for my legs. That's the words I was looking for. Which needs to be really long, and usually the 18-inch sheets aren't big enough for that.
Yeah.
so there's lots of like a lot of this is available basically everywhere, even online. There's lots of great resources. What other materials do you guys like to work with?
Leather.
No way.
How could you talk about working with leather? Because I've never worked with it, and I like my dad. He does not know that much about costume at all. He's like, well, why don't you just make it all with leather next year? And I'm like, okay, Dad. So could you like, how do you get into it? Like, what's kind of the basic leather?
So I mean, like I've done whole panels on leather working that are 2 hours long.
So this is 101.
So like, I mean, the best resource that I've found for leather working is Tandy Leather.
Yeah.
Most
Yep, they're
most like cities will have one, and they do run workshops, which is really nice. You can like go and like pay like a $75 fee, and like you'll end with like a thing that you can take home, and they'll teach you like a bunch of different skills. But yeah, like, and as far as like doing something like this, like the biggest thing about leather is that it can be cost prohibitive.
Did you do the whole thing with a half cow, or did you do?
I think this is 1.5. No, 3/4 of a cow.
Okay, so like a whole cow is what, $150?
About.
Yeah, give or
Yeah.
take. Like,
And you can find sales to get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tandy
And
does-
like, if you find leather on sale for a good price, just buy it and keep it.
Yeah.
you'll use it for something.
You'll use it for something.
Yeah,
Or
I
put
found
it
like
down
a
as a
giant cow. It was like, I don't know, 15 square feet. Just like this huge
Yeah.
like leather hide. It was garment grade, so like you'd use it for pants or something. Like, cause it's very thin. It's not a bench
Yeah,
cow
it comes
like
in
this.
different thicknesses too.
But I still have that, and
Yeah.
I've made like 2 pairs of pants, and I keep like enough random bits for different costumes, and like it was like a very nondescript beige, so I can dye it different other
Oh,
colors.
So this wasn't black.
Yeah.
Oh,
This was,
really?
This was tan.
Yeah, you
It's
can
like
dye
that.
leather like tons of different colors. Not necessarily, well, Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you
paint it
can.
White, yeah.
Yeah, like you can get leather to be any color you want. It's not going to be bright, but you can get it to be any color you want.
There's other things you can paint leather.
Oh, yeah, you could do that too.
And
It's opaque.
sorry about it being cost prohibitive. Like you do need a bunch of tools
Yeah,
to start, so you
Also
can't
very
just.
true.
Yeah.
the
so
tools
you
are
can't-
often more expensive than the leather.
You can't just use a pair of scissors to get into. Like you need proper
Leather
knives,
cutting tools.
proper edging tools, and if you want to do stamps or if you want to do rivets, like there are a bunch of tools you need to do to start.
I forgot we were working from a character
Sorry.
who doesn't wear much leather.
Yeah.
She
has, like,
her
one
belt
thing on
is
her
Yeah, yeah,
back.
she's got cuffs
Yeah.
that are leather.
So
And fur, too.
I think so. We've gathered our materials and we've looked at what Cora looks like and gotten. There's tons of resources online, and I'm sure there's actually. She's a popular enough character that
Yeah.
you'll be able to find video tutorials or blog tutorials. I find some good resources to find that are YouTube. Pinterest is surprisingly
Yeah.
helpful with
It's getting
With
more and
cosplay?
more. Yeah.
which is the only reason I use Pinterest is for cosplay. Where else do you find some like aids for?
One of my favorite places to go to, it's mostly a network of professionals, but you can get an account to log in, is the Replica Prop Forum. So like most of the power users there are going to be people who work for like movie studios and like
Yeah.
actually make props for movies and film.
Adam Savage is on there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, when I was working on Nuada from Hellboy, like that's where I got most of my
Yeah.
information from. Like some dude who had built the costume that I was looking to build for myself.
A lot of cosplayers will put up a kind of step-by-step
Working
process.
diary, yeah.
Working diary, that's a great example. On Facebook, I find a lot of
Yeah.
that, which is super helpful.
Etsy, that's where a lot of people that make their own patterns for things will put it up on Etsy and you can buy like the PDF for it. And it's
Yeah.
usually like I bought the one for Mercy
Yeah.
and it was like $5.
Yeah, because unlike these guys, I'm not experienced enough that I just work from patterns, altering a little bit here and there. But you can certainly, like, if you're not an experienced tailor, like, you can work from a pattern. It's pretty simple. There's lots of tutorials online for just basic sewing tutorials to follow. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
So now that we have a
Well-
character picked out,
So shopping for fabric.
yes. The next step is materials. So Joanne Fabrics is probably your go-to.
I live in Canada, so I go to Fabric Land.
Basically the same thing. Is probably your go-to place for garment fabric. So garment fabric and quilt fabric are probably going to be the two kind of sewing stores you're going to find. You probably don't want to make a costume with quilt fabric, but you can do whatever you want. But
Generally, when I'm going to shop for fabric, the first place that I'll hit up is the broadcloth section.
yes,
Because broadcloth is a cotton it's thin, so you got to be careful about that. But it comes in so many different colors, like
And it's
more
real cheap.
colors than any other. Yeah, and it's extremely inexpensive, so it's a good place to start especially when you're first starting.
So if you have to scrap something, you
Yeah.
can lose $50 worth of
Exactly.
fabric. You
It's
lost
not
$5.
stretchy. It's not very thick, but it does a lot of what I want it to do for most costumes that I make.
yeah. One of the things you can do actually is, especially if you're drafting your own pattern, is first put it together with muslin. It's a very, very cheap fabric. It's paper thin. It's like cheesecloth essentially. Not,
No, it's heftier than that. And
Yeah,
you can buy it by the
definitely.
bolt, which is really
Yeah.
convenient.
yeah.
So you just have that and you use it up through all your different
Yeah.
costumes.
A bolt is what, $20?
Ish.
Yeah, something like that. So it's super cheap and it's kind of like your test fabric. I know some people that do it with paper.
No, it doesn't. I find it doesn't
No.
drape.
You won't
well
get the
enough
same.
that-
You
yeah.
can't test fit it as well as
Yeah.
doing that. So that you have that opportunity. Choosing fabrics, choosing patterns. You're probably not going to find a pattern for exactly what you want. So usually that means if you're working from patterns, adapting other patterns. So like for Cora, for example, I might go look at Jedi robe patterns or something else similar.
Or like a tunic, like a
Tunics
medieval
or-
tunic,
Or even modern tunics. Like,
Yeah.
like if I find something, one of the things I'm working right now on, I'm still planning, and I've been very bad about it, is a Skyward Sword link. No,
That's a lot.
Ordon link from Twilight Princess. And he has this tunic on, but you can't find men's tunic patterns. So I've just been, I've got a women's tunic pattern that I'm going to alter, just to kind of make it squarer and less form-fitting, and just kind of work from that. You work from patterns too, right?
So I work from patterns, but I also, since I do like handmade pieces and store-bought pieces, so for my Korra costume that I did, I tried to look at the costume and then break down what are these pieces, or how can I find this piece that I know I can't make. I cannot make a bodysuit. So dance websites have lots of bodysuits.
Yep.
So for my Korra costume, I found the color. I was like, okay, need to do this this bodysuit, got the style, and then I modified it. So I like cut the sleeves, I changed the neck, like did piping on it, everything like that to make what I needed. And so that's something too, if you don't feel comfortable using patterns, kind of looking and seeing, okay, what does this look like that I might be able to go get on Amazon or get in a store, and then I can adjust things that way.
I've definitely done it that I've gone to thrift stores and I've found stuff that I'm like, that's relatively close to what and then I cut it on, like I'll just rip all the seams out, and then you actually have the pieces there that you could just trace a pattern.
It's essentially a pattern.
A lot of times I'll just, like for my Handsome Jack costume, I went to just Goodwill basically and found pieces that I liked and then like altered them, because like his like suit jacket was like real short in the back, so like, and really pointed in the front, so like get a square suit, cut that. He did like sleeves only came out to here, so I cut the sleeves down. It was the wrong color, so I literally painted it a different color, which kind of works well for that. That gray.
Borderline stuff is great to do the like super cartoony style.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, painted all of the edges black with like white highlights and wrinkles in different places. His vest too was like really weird. Like I just needed it to be brown, so I found like a brown vest that fit me. Took all the buttons off, put buckles in, painted it the same way I did the other thing.
Animated characters like Korra work really great because it's a lot of flat colors.
Yeah.
So you're working with a lot less different fabrics, and you can basically...
Not a lot of patterns.
No, I think Caprizio like literally makes the same like Korra blue, so it was so easy.
I recently did on Takamaki from Persona 5, and I didn't make any of it. I went to Value Village, I found a blazer, I took it in, put some different buttons on it. I got a skirt from Alibaba or something, and I just painted a plaid pattern on it. And I had a white sweater that I cut off the sleeves because I knew it was going to be hot as hell. And like just got some vinyl and did some like detail work on it and stuff. Because there's no reason. You know, plaid or pleated skirt is so much work.
Pleats, just don't do pleats.
That like if you can buy it, if it's got pleats, just buy it. Just pleats are.
I have a friend of ours.
Pleats are fine.
That's because you like tedious work.
And they never like professional pleats are pleated with this big, huge, like industrial iron that you're not going to have at home.
A friend of ours just recently did Princess Zelda from Breath of the Wild with the entire front of micro pleats.
Oh.
It looked beautiful, but it was like hours of work with a tiny iron.
Just a lot of the time, it's not worth it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, speaking of found pieces, one of the good found piece, entirely found piece costumes we've done is Cecil and
Carlos.
Cecil and Carlos from Night Vale. They're just, I got a very, very ugly black
steampunk vest,
like steampunky vest. It looks kind of goth, but like we slapped some embroidery of the eye logo on it, and bam, it's Carlos now, or Cecil.
Carlos just had he's described once as having a flannel shirt.
Yeah, a red flannel shirt. We put a lab coat on you.
Yeah, that was it.
Same embroidery on the lab coat. Like we have an embroidery machine, but like stuff like
you can buy a Night Vale patch.
You can buy Night Vale patches.
Etsy is really good for that kind of thing. Like just there's someone out there probably making the thing that you need.
So it's just like a lot of pieced together items of, especially characters like those who are very vaguely described that you come across really well if you stick to like Night Vale has such strong color associations. So so like looking up a bunch of fan art, and all of it's in black, white, and purple. So that was our color scheme for the entire costume, minus your red flannel shirt.
I wore a purple one.
Oh. So.
Here's your pattern.
So you've got your pattern, you've got your materials as much as you can, kind of cheaper fabrics. I mean, you can go expensive and spend more money. Cosplay is one of those things where you can always spend more money.
Yeah.
I think most things you can always spend. It's not limited to cosplay.
It's hobbies, they're expensive.
Yeah.
But cosplay doesn't have to be. You can do it for cheap. This sewing machine is probably going to be your biggest sunk cost, but
Getting into it is always...
there are lower levels of, there's like tiers of money you can spend. Like a $90 singer from Joanne Fabrics isn't going to be the best quality, but it's definitely going to get the job done. Those are pretty good machines.
For a year or so.
Yeah, and then oftentimes it costs just as much to service them as it does to...
I mean, if you're still doing it after 2 years, then you might as well sink the money into...
Another great resource for those is if you can find flea markets, might have old sewing machines. If it's an old sewing machine, all metal, no plastic, like, buy that. It's going to be great.
Because it can get serviced, but it will last you until you die.
Yeah.
You'll know if you pick it up and it's like extremely heavy.
Yeah.
More like heavier than you would think it would be.
The person selling it probably knows a thing or two about it as well. So.
Yeah.
So you have your patterns, you have your fabric, and you could test patterns with muslin. I don't usually do that unless I'm drafting myself.
I
just
like
like
patterns in muslin.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, patterns are very generic. They're like made for like a generic body size, and like you can kind of like
They come
adjust the
with body
pattern
measurements.
to like fit you. Like it says like, oh, if your waist is bigger, then like adjust on this line to like go to this other thing. But I'll make the pattern as they tell me to out of muslin, and then I'll put it on myself, and then I'll pinch and pin and undo seams and like get my muslin to where I want it to be.
To fit it.
Mark it all out, then take it apart.
Yeah.
And then I have like something that's a hybrid of the pattern they wanted me to make and the one that fits me perfectly.
Draw on it with Sharpies, like you can do anything to it, it's your chess piece. McCall's patterns always come in various sizes, so you just like take your body measurements and get to the closest size as possible and then edit from there. I find that it's usually a better idea to do a size, if you're like kind of in between, do a size up, or just do a size up in general, and then you can tailor it down to yourself depending on what it is. For stuff like robes, it doesn't really matter, just make the exact size, but like when we were doing those tri-suit Link, he basically looks like a Power Ranger, but is Link. We couldn't find any jumpsuits online for a decent price, so we made our own. And I wish I had done a little bit size up, because parts of it are different, and that one we did.
But I mean, there's a place for you to adjust that, and you skipped over that step, and I was like, you should do that. And you're like, no.
Sure, it turns out it was fine.
Okay, camel toe, whatever. It's not my jumpsuit.
Yeah. But I mean...
Mine fit me very well.
But we're also in a time crunch,
Yeah.
so...
That was
I
like
made
the
two.
night before you guys were,
Yep.
I remember Josh being like, we're literally still finishing.
Yeah, that
But
was
then
for
you came and it
Patsy's
looked
2 years
amazing.
out.
Yeah.
So the sewing part of it's going to be different for everyone you make,
Yeah.
so we can't really go through how to sew a thing.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's tons of resources
Yeah.
online for that.
But often I'll, after, I've kind of put it together, but like practicing posing and looking up reference for poses
Yes.
is a big one.
Because it's not just...
Yeah.
We're here for cosplay, not just costuming.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can go as far down that road as you want into like getting into character. Do you guys like? How far do you guys go?
If there are people there that want to talk to me as whatever character, then I will talk to them as that whatever character. I try to always have like maybe 3 poses that I can do because
Yeah.
Poses
for
make
Cora,
photos.
I
Yeah.
made a mistake of only really learning one pose for Cora, and it was with like one leg forward and one back, and by the end of the day, my leg was cramped so bad, and I could not do it anymore. So like having a variety of things, but I will, if someone, like a little kid comes up to me, they're like, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
like I'll get into it.
Because like taking a picture of like smiling like and taking a picture of like is
it's so
very
much more fun.
you'll see the pictures afterwards and think and be happy that you've done it.
Yeah, I just like to go through the promo shots and pick a pose that I think
Yeah.
looks good on me.
Because usually there's character art in a pose that you can kind of keep emulating.
Or like specific quotes and voice lines are fun to say
Yeah.
with people, but like that's stuff you know.
Yeah.
And have someone take your picture before and look at it to make sure
Yeah.
you're doing what you think you're doing.
Yeah.
Because when we were wearing Tri-Suit Link and you saw all the pictures of next to you, you're like, I look stupid. Why didn't anybody tell me? I was like,
Because I had worked on a pose from a photo, but turns out I didn't look as dynamic as I thought I was, and I just looked like an
He's
idiot.
basically
I was
just
like staring at the
leaning to
ground.
his side, like holding his sword like this, like a bouquet of flowers.
Oh, I looked so dumb. But,
I definitely recommend as well, if you have a friend with a good camera, if you have a good camera, do photos, like do a photo shoot. I've made like at least 100 costumes at this point. I have photo shoots of maybe 2 of them, and I'm like, and then, you know, these costumes get lost and they get scrapped or thrown out and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I did all the work and now it's I have
forever.
nothing to say that I've ever
a bunch
done
of
this
strangers
thing.
at a con have my photo.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good thing. Like take photos for yourself.
Yeah.
And also, there, depending on the conventions, a lot of times there are photographers who just go
Yes.
around and will take
Yeah.
pictures. If they do, just make sure to get their card, and a lot of them will put them like up on Flickr or
Or
whatever.
they'll even send you their picture.
Yeah,
You just
and that way you can still have like a nice.
I mean, they want a brand
professional-
build too.
Yeah.
A lot of cons also do a photo booth. A lot of more costume-heavy cons have a free photo booth or something like that, or an organization is set up there with a photo booth. Those are also great opportunities. Usually, it's a better camera. There's a backdrop sometimes.
Do you
So
want
get
to
those.
take
Yeah, I
questions?
think. So I think we've got a core piece it together, but I think we should.
I just want to touch on a little bit more resources on learning how to sew.
Yes.
So we've mentioned quilt shops before. There are quilt shops that there's a basement and they just have machines and there's old ladies sewing down there, and you rent the machines by the hour or whatever.
It's really cheap usually.
But those are really good places to go and sit next to someone or have them teach you, which is awesome. If you don't know how to sew and you want to learn.
There's so many maker studios now
Yeah.
in bigger cities that have these kind of craft and making co-ops that there's tons of and a lot of times the classes are free.
Yep.
And if you
Free $10.
don't have that, like in a lot of places, if you go to your local Joann's, they will have a sewing class that you can take, and I think
Yep.
it's like $30 or something like that, and it teaches you the basics.
Sometimes I recommend those. If you don't have anyone to learn from, those are really great because it's one of those things that you kind of need to learn by doing.
And making mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, make a ton of mistakes and you'll stop doing it.
Buy a seam ripper.
Yes.
Yes.
Get a couple seam rippers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Never have
even
enough.
It's kind of this little tool that's usually a plastic handle. It's kind of almost a fish hook with
blade.
usually a red ball at the end.
Yeah.
That's what it
You'll
looks like.
still
You're gonna
stab
need it.
yourself.
like even now, I'll go to make a pair of pants and I'll realize that I sewn the wrong leg. The
I probably-
outside leg to the inside. I'm like,
I rip seams just as much as I sew.
constantly, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I think we've kind of gone very wide over everything.
Yeah.
If we want to go deep on any topics, I guess let's open it up to questions.
What would you recommend, for a cosplayer first starting out, what would you recommend, very basic pieces that are very versatile across, a lot of different costumes? What's the one piece you would recommend that you can
Robes.
invest in right away? Robes?
Yeah.
Yeah, robes are
You can be a wizard, you can be a Jedi,
Yeah.
you can be.
I don't do
sorcerer.
much multi-purpose piecing, so
I don't do a lot.
I was gonna say tall boots.
Oh.
There are so many costumes that have a pair of tall boots with no laces.
like riding boots.
Yeah. So
Sometimes-
like these.
Yes.
Yeah,
Knee-high black boots.
absolutely.
I've
Brown
used
is
them for
probably
so
more
many
useful,
costumes,
but-
and they're just nondescript, tall black boots. It's kind of a big cost to start with, but then I've had them for a decade.
Also, you want comfortable boots. So, because you're going to buy these one piece and use them for way more costumes than you think you're going to, and you're going to walk around in them all day, which makes me think about other things. Sew pockets into your costumes.
Oh my god, yes. Because you don't want to carry around stuff in your hands. I have to keep putting them down and then doing it and then picking them
Handing them
back
to your
up.
handler, which is
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah, think about, for costumes, obviously you want to make a costume that you love, but also think about practicability of it. If you have a costume that you're it's going to take me 20 minutes to go to the bathroom, then you need to start planning, okay, I think I might have to go to the bathroom in an hour.
Or I think I might need to figure out a system of snaps and Velcro to be able to go to the bathroom.
And so, footwear
Yep.
is really important. If you want to do a costume of a
Diapers.
character who wears high heels, you probably don't want to wear high heels at a convention all day.
no.
Or
You
to
know.
the convention.
Or,
Yeah.
to the convention.
That's another good thing. Being able to travel in it is useful. So if there's pieces you can take apart and travel in, better it's useful
Because
to think
changing in the
about.
convention bathroom is a nightmare.
Yeah, a lot of conventions are like cracking down on using
Yeah,
the
they
handicap
like don't
stalls
want you to do that.
for changing,
Yeah.
which is good. 'Cause you should go to your room to do that.
Some of the time I'll pick a character and it'll be something I need a wig for. And then afterwards I will look up characters that kind of I can use that
Yeah.
wig for and then build costumes on a wig just so I don't have to keep getting on like, at this point I've got so many wigs.
Wigs
but-
can get really expensive.
Yeah. So,
The riding boots is probably a big one.
you can literally, I can't remember what site it is, but you can be like, okay, so I have this short purple wig. You can type in characters with short purple hair, and you'll get a page, and it's a certain site, I just can't remember what it's called. It'll just, pictures of characters with short purple hair, and a lot of time that's what I'll do.